Bear
We're
with
getting it
us.
figured out.
It's the first time.
There we go.
Hello there, everyone. This is the Cowboy Conversation with Swilling and Anderson. I am ASUW Director of Marketing, Casey Clark.
And I'm ASUW's Chief of Staff, Hazel Homer-Wambeam.
With us today, we have ASUW President Hunter Swilling and Vice President Coulter Anderson.
Hello, everybody.
So we'd like to welcome you all to the Town Hall, which is a bi-weekly event, and its purpose is to give you information about ASUW and general communications from both the President and Vice President.
It's also a place for student feedback and concerns to be directly questioned to President Swilling and Vice President Anderson.
So give me 1 second. We'll get this presentation started. All right. So first off, we're going to have a little get to know on Hunter. Where are you guys from? What year are you in? And what are you guys majoring in?
All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you so much, Casey, for the wonderful introduction. We're so excited to be joining you for the rest of the school year in this town hall. Like Casey said, I'm Hunter Swilling. I'm the ASUW president. I'm actually from Cheyenne, Wyoming, so just over the hill, haven't strayed too far from home at all. I'm a junior majoring in physiology and molecular biology with a minor in honors, which is going well. I can only say that organic chemistry truly is terrible. In terms of student organizations, I am part of Best Buddies, which forms personal friendships or one-on-one connections with people with mental or developmental delays or disabilities alongside college students to help make sure that there's a productive and organic friendship that can arise between them. We also do some advocacy work on the front for people with disabilities or the differently abled. I'm also in the molecular biology club, which isn't super active at the moment, but we have done some really cool things in the past, like get a tour of the state veterinary hospital and also do some work in the various molecular and microbiology labs around campus.
Awesome. And then Coulter, where are you from? What's your year? What is your major? And what connections or student orgs are you in?
Thank you, Hazel. Yeah, so my name is Coulter Anderson. Like Hunter, I'm from Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I am a junior. I am so used to saying I'll be a junior. Now I am a junior this year, majoring in economics with a minor in honors and leadership. Outside of ASUW, I'm a member of Sigma Chi, the Sigma Chi fraternity, and I'm just really involved in the College of Business, something that I started doing as a senator last year. I've been really involved with trying to bolster the college's support for student organizations, and that's something I'm really looking forward to continuing this year and going forward. So, thank you, everybody.
All right, moving on. We're going to talk kind of a little bit about ASUW. So very broad question. What is ASUW for you guys?
It's a really hard question to answer, right? But also very easy. ASUW at its most basic level is the student government, which means we represent students in a ton of different ways. And we do that in a lot of different methods. So one of the most prominent is that ASUW is usually the voice in the room when it comes to talking to administrators, the board of trustees, etc. The ASUW president sits as an ex officio on the board of trustees. And oftentimes ASUW is really the only students that like the provost or the president talk to on a regular basis. So in those meetings, we really try to represent student opinion as much as we possibly can by emphasizing what we think students need at any given time. Like Coulter and I were strong advocates for returning in campus fully as much as we possibly could in a safe manner. And then also ASUW has much more than just that little contact with administration. It's more than just representing student opinion to them. It's also serving our fellow students in a variety of different ways. And maybe Coulter can elaborate on that.
Yeah, most definitely. Our mission statement is to serve students in the best manner possible, and that's certainly something we want to put a lot of focus on this year as we come back on campus. You know, we've been online and away from the classroom for a year and a half now, which is really tough. So there are quite a few things we do. We provide a lot of support for student organizations, give away lots of money to them to hold events, to go to conferences and competitions. We give away about $100,000 in scholarships throughout this fall and spring semesters. And we always encourage students to apply for those. We have a special projects fund, which students can make proposals for a special project on campus and bring that before ASUW Senate. and we love fun doing that, doing those projects. Those are always fun. And as well, we do lots of programming. On the fresh on the mind is homecoming coming up here really soon. We do our big horseshoe hunt, and we give away t-shirts and pizza. So that's always a fun time. Those are a few of the big ones. Always be looking out for the ASUW logo. I don't know if I have it around here somewhere, but be on the lookout. Oh yeah, right there. Be on the lookout for the ASUW logo. If you see that and you see us out tabling or something, come up, say hi, ask a question. We're usually giving away swag and stuff, so make sure to come get like a water bottle or a t-shirt or whatever it may be. But yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So ASUW then, to give a really basic breakdown of what exactly we do and how we're organized, there are 3 branches. There's the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch, right? So the executive branch is headed by the president and the vice president. And then we select from among students who apply 9 different directors to work for us. Well, 2 chiefs and 7 directors, actually. Hazel is obviously chief of staff. Casey is director of marketing. We have a bunch of other directors in a ton of different areas, like wellness and sustainability, diversity and inclusion, finance and student organizations, and a ton of others. And then also on the legislative side, Coulter is in charge of heading the legislative branch, and he has our chief of legislative affairs who helps him a lot with that sort of task. There's also the judicial branch, but it definitely is the least active. It really only resolves disputes or questions. So if you want to get involved in ASUW and really impact like a broad number of students, I would say the executive or the legislative are the best ways to do that. And there's a ton of ways to get involved. As we can see in the bottom paragraph below, you can run in elections. You can be elected to 2 different positions in ASUW. You can either be president/vice president or a senator. Elections happen every single March through April. And then in April of every single year, results are announced, and we have our senators and president and vice president for the next administration. Obviously, if you want to get involved before April, then there are certainly ways to do that as well. And join one of our partners or programs. This is sort of the 4th part of ASUW, separate from the 3 branches, but an integral part of our mission. There's the United Multicultural Council, which helps represent multicultural students and underrepresented students in a variety of manners. They work a lot with student organizations like MECHA, the Black Student Alliance, the Queer Community Coalition, etc. There's a non-traditional student council, which represents non-traditional students. Perhaps you're a transfer student, perhaps you're a veteran, perhaps you are a parent, a lot of different examples. A lot of different types of students fall into the non-traditional umbrella. There's also a ton of others as well, of course. Let's see, the Sustainability Coalition really advocates strongly for sustainability and food security on this campus. They were an integral part of setting up the food share pantry that ASUW has had a strong voice in as well. They also do regular sustainability related missions and things like setting up Solar Fest each and every year. Let's see. You can also join a committee. There are 8 committees, or you could come to Senate. I could let Coulter expand on that, and also first year Senate if you would like.
Yeah. So as you've already heard, there are tons and tons of ways to get involved with ASUW. One of the easiest, as Hunter just said, is simply coming to Senate. You can sit down in the gallery. We have an open forum during Senate, so you could speak to our senators. If there's an issue that you're particularly passionate about or something that you want to see addressed, that's a great time to come before the Senate. Joining a committee is really easy as well. Everyone who pays the ASUW fee is technically a member of ASUW. And you can become a student at large and join one of our committees as a voting member. Our committees do quite a bit. So all the legislation that comes through Senate goes through our committees first. Committees make recommendations on legislation to the Senate, and that's how we proceed with voting on those. As well, committees do lots of programming and work on initiatives and projects around campus. One of our biggest ones is Student Outreach Week in the spring, which our Student Outreach and Programming Committee works on. That's always a fun time. Really love doing Student Outreach Week. But yeah, so joining committee is super easy. It's a quick form on our website that you have to fill out. You can highlight a couple of the committees that you're really interested in participating in. Committees usually only meet once a week for an hour, and then most of the time less than an hour. So it's really not a huge time commitment. It's a great way to learn more about what's going on at UW, what ASUW is doing, and it's a great way to make sure your voice is heard and recognized basically in Senate, and that it's accounted for. So we want to make sure that we're understanding every student's perspective and getting all their input and what's the word I'm looking for? Opinions on an issue, so we can do our best to represent students accurately. So yeah, would strongly encourage anyone to come to Senate meetings. You don't have to stay the whole time either. Sometimes they can go kind of long. Our first one this week went 3 hours. So definitely don't have to stay the whole time, but it's always fun to come listen to our special event too. We had Dr. Kevin Carmen come and speak about the proposed restructuring of the University of Wyoming last time. We had lots of great questions for him as well. So would really encourage everyone to come to Senate and just sit down and listen in.
Great, thanks for all that info. Coulter, could you elaborate a little bit on first year Senate and how first year students may be able to get involved with ASUW?
Yes. So both myself and Hunter started as first year senators. So kind of near and dear to our hearts. First year Senate is a fantastic program. And so I guess the underlying purpose with first year Senate is that first year students aren't here the spring before they come here. They're still in high school, right? So they don't get to run in elections and they don't get to vote in elections. So instead, what we do is when they come to campus, students who are interested, first year students who are interested in participating in ASUW can go on our website and apply to first year Senate. It's a really quick process and it'll end with a quick interview and then we'll let you know, of course. First year Senate sees all the same legislation that ASUW, the full Senate sees, as well as some of their own legislation. As well, they're involved on all of our standing committees and some of their own committees. They do their own programming. But generally, it's just a great way to start to get integrated in ASUW, maybe dip your toes in the water and see if you like it. We get a lot of fantastic, really involved senators who come from first year Senate to us. And we really appreciate that program. It's a ton of fun. And once again, not a super huge time commitment. First year Senate meetings usually last around an hour or less. And then, you have your committee meetings as well. And those are pretty quick and easy. So yeah, I would really strongly encourage everyone to join first year Senate. It's a great way to, if you really want to be involved in student government, it's a great way to get started. So.
Awesome. And then for students looking to get involved in first year Senate, how can they do that? Where is that?
Yeah, so it's on our website. And actually I can kind of, as I go through it, I'll walk us through it. So if you just Google UWYO ASUW, Associated Students of the University of Wyoming should be the first link on there. And then if you scroll down a little bit, it says, what is ASUW? And there's an icon that says programs and partners. Click on that. And then you can find first year Senate on that page. And there's a big link that says join first year Senate. You can also just Google UWYO ASUW first year Senate. And you should be able to find it right there too. Also, you're always welcome to come down to the ASUW office, basement of the Union, room 20. Our doors pretty much always open. There's usually always someone in the office, and they'd be more than happy to help you. You can also always email like myself or Hunter. ASU, we can put those like on the screen at the end or something. But yeah, we're always happy to take your emails. Those can also be found on our website. Trying to think of any other ways. I think that's about sums it up. There's quite a few. So definitely even if you're not interested in ASUW though, definitely make sure to get involved. Involvement Fest is coming up. I know I'm kind of going off topic here, but like Involvement Fest is coming up and there are lots of different ways on campus. So definitely a great way to enhance your college experience.
Awesome. So moving on a little bit, we're going to talk about COVID, the masks, and the fall 2021 plan. Do you guys want to describe kind of what the fall 2021 plan is for so far, at least?
Yeah, so the fall 2021 plan has been a little bit of a contentious topic, to say the least. It's changed quite a bit, actually, since it first got announced, which was somehow only about 3 weeks ago. But I would say, basically, the fall 2021 plan is just that. How are we going to control COVID-19 on this campus to make sure that we can return safely and have a safe environment for people to learn in? One of the key ways in which the Board of Trustees has decided to do this on a 10-2 vote was implement a mask mandate through at least September 20th. So it is required that you wear a mask while in indoor high traffic areas. There are a few exceptions where you don't have to wear a mask indoors. Those are mostly if you have your own office and the door is closed, like Coulter and I have right now, you don't have to wear a mask. And if you're further than 6 feet away from everyone else in a non-high traffic area, you don't have to wear a mask either. The Union is high traffic, so you always have to wear a mask in the Union, even if you're 6 feet or more away from someone. It's a little bit confusing the way that they've decided to do it, but those are the basic rules. And mask wearing is pretty important to just reduce the spread of COVID on our campus while we wait for more people to get vaccinated. No one likes wearing a mask, obviously. They're uncomfortable. It can be hard to breathe if you're particularly if you're trying to exercise or something. But they are really extremely important for protecting people around us and for protecting ourselves. Not everyone is vaccinated, and those people are more at risk than others. The Delta variant in particular is why the mask mandate is back. If Delta didn't exist, it would probably be totally fine not to have masks, but it does. So it's not. Delta is much scarier than the original strains of COVID. The concentrations of virus in your nose and throat are 1,000 times higher. It's 2 to 3 times more transmissible. And the hospitalization rate for young people, and especially for children, is 5 times higher than the normal rate of COVID. So it's much, much more dangerous, not only in terms of how transmissible it is, but also in the effects. You are much more likely to be hospitalized if you are a child or like 20, like we are, if you get Delta compared to if you got the original strains. But the good news is that the vaccine is still completely effective. And we really strongly advocate for the vaccines. The vast majority of people who are in COVID, who are in the hospital or who get sick with COVID, like really sick with COVID, are not vaccinated, like 98% or more. The vaccine is completely safe and effective. I just saw a statistic that according to the American Medical Association, who surveyed 50,000 doctors all across the country, 98% of them report that they took the COVID-19 vaccine, 98% of doctors. So obviously they are the most informed that you can possibly be on this subject. They hold a literal doctorate in medicine, and 98% of them chose to be vaccinated. It's safe and effective. More than 4.8 billion doses, have already been distributed around the world. And you just don't see the kind of dangerous side effects that people are really afraid of. It's just not happening. Your chance of getting COVID and dying is 100 times greater than the chance of being adversely affected by a side effect of the vaccine that will cause long-term or permanent damage. That is all citable through imminent scholarly research. That's why the FDA just approved Pfizer with full approval, so it's not even on emergency use authorization anymore.
Hunter, you mentioned the importance of mask wearing. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that when it comes to not only protecting students, but faculty and staff as well? And then also how that will contribute to us being able to have an in-person semester.
Yeah, so 3 huge things here. 1, mask wearing is basically the same as, let me phrase this succinctly, basically pretend someone is peeing. If you're not wearing pants and he's not wearing pants, you're just gonna get pee all over you. If he's wearing pants, if you're wearing pants, there's at least some protection, a little bit. You're still going to get wet. But if he's wearing pants, it's basically completely contained and you are safe. That's the principle behind wearing a mask. It blocks the droplets, which contain the virus, from your nose and throat when you speak, cough, sneeze, even just breathe. That happens when you literally just breathe, from going out into the air that people around you can breathe. So it protects people, other people around you. Wearing a mask protects you a little bit, but the majority of the protection is derived from people around you wearing a mask, which is why it can't just be a personal choice to wear a mask or not. If wearing a mask protected the wearer completely, then great. If you want to take the risk, that is your right, but it doesn't work like that. And we have to respect the science and say that we have to protect the fellow people around us. That's why there are mandatory vaccines. I should clarify that there is no plan at this point to make a mandatory COVID vaccine for the University of Wyoming, but there are 12 other mandatory vaccines for public schools. And that's the principle behind them as well. Protect everyone, including, yourself at the same time. In terms of faculty and staff, it's important to them that students wear a mask for a couple of key reasons. 1, not all of them can be vaccinated. A lot of them either have anaphylactic reactions to vaccines in the past, which means they're medically unable to take the vaccine, or they have a genuine philosophical or moral objection or religious exemption to taking a vaccine. But even more prevalent is that a lot of our staff and faculty have children who cannot get vaccinated because it's not authorized for children under 12, and they are at risk. So protecting our staff and faculty's children and our students is why we should wear a mask as much as we possibly can.
Now, Hunter, you kind of have mentioned the vaccines and how effective they are. What is ASUW's general stance on the vaccines and everything with COVID?
Yeah, so obviously we believe everyone should take the vaccine as much as possible. We've elaborated on how they're safe and effective. Every single government throughout the entire world basically has approved one form or another of a COVID-19 vaccine. And it has been shown empirically by data to be the single most effective thing you can do to protect not only yourself, but also to make sure that we can go back to normal. If everyone got vaccinated, we could probably end masks, social distancing tomorrow, be totally back to normal. And the only thing that is stopping us from that is that people aren't vaccinated. So ASUW strongly recommends that people get vaccinated. And we are also doing some incentivization programs and collaborating with other incentivization programs to make sure that happens. So like the county of Albany actually has just decided that every time you get a COVID-19 vaccine, as long as it's not on the UW campus, an off-campus provider, you will get a $25 gift card. So that's literally $50 free for getting your 2-shot regimen of either Pfizer or Moderna, which is pretty awesome. They also have grand prizes. They're choosing one person to win $1,000 a week. And the university is also doing prizes, including AirPods, tickets to games, prizes of $4,500 in tuition and fees, tons of stuff. So there's huge benefits to getting vaccinated, and it's so completely safe. Literally nothing will happen. All 4 of us have been vaccinated, nothing happens. Your arm is a little bit sore for like maybe a day or 2.
I wasn't even sore.
Shoulder's better. I was definitely sore.
I'm built different.
Well, it's getting heated in here. Well, so kind of a switch of topic, but Coulter, you had mentioned a little bit before about Senate and how Senate actually met on Tuesday. Can you maybe elaborate on the things that were discussed, the legislation, the confirmations that happened, and just update students on Senate happenings?
Absolutely, yeah. So we had our first Senate meeting of the 2021-2022 academic year on Tuesday night. Senate meetings are always on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Usually they're in the Union Senate Chambers, room 221. Once a semester, we do have an away meeting. So usually that's in like the College of Law or something, and that's always advertised. So we make sure that students know where they can find us. The first Senate meeting of the year is always a big deal because we're working on confirming our executives, and this year a number of vacancies on our judicial council. So we got to confirm, what was it? It was 6 executives and 5 associate justices. 7 executives. And so that process, we have our executives stand up. Well, first Hunter gives an introduction to our executives, our nominees, and then they stand up, they give a little spiel to Senate. Senators are allowed to ask questions, and then we ask them to step out of the room, engage in some conversation if there is any, and then we take a vote. That was really awesome and successful. All 7 executives and 5 justices were confirmed. So ASUW's executive branch and judicial branch are at peak operating capacity right now, which is really great. Great to be able to have everyone working as we get back into the semester full swing. The biggest part about Senate, though, is definitely our legislative process. That's the process by which we take any action whatsoever. The senators control our budget, control our resolutions and ASUW's like support and where we're distributing that. So currently we have one piece of legislation that's going through the motions. It was up for first reading, and what that piece of legislation does is allow ex officios to serve as required sponsors on legislation. Every piece of legislation that comes before the Senate has to be sponsored by at least 2 senators. We have a variety of ex officios that represent niche groups on campus, and they have a lot of in-depth understanding about those niche groups. And so we want to allow them to serve as those required sponsors as well. So we're hoping that gets passed next week at second reading. And then finally, as I mentioned briefly earlier, we had Provost and Executive Vice President Dr. Kevin Carmen come to speak as our special event. He spoke to our senators about the university restructuring plan for fiscal year 23, as well as the Unireg 213 process and how we go about reviewing programs and making cuts and eliminations there. That was really helpful. And it's quite a bit to cover. And I want to make sure that we're able to get to everything else. So I won't go super in depth on all of that. But as I've already said, you're more than welcome to email us with questions. We have a little presentation we can give you on that restructuring process. I would encourage you to check out the university website on the restructuring process and program review process. A lot of students will be affected by this in the coming years. It's really important that you understand what's happening. And administrators are actively looking for student input. So if you have thoughts, comments, concerns, anything like that, please come give them to us. We'll at the very least make sure that we relay those to administrators, and we'd love to be able to put you in contact with them and let you speak with them and speak face-to-face, one-on-one, or in a meeting or something, and make sure that your opinions and voices are heard. So that's really important. And yeah, we want to make sure that student opinion is well represented on this topic, because it's going to have a huge impact on the way that our degrees are carried out through the rest of our time here at the University of Wyoming.
Awesome. That sounds like it was a very busy night, Coulter.
Yes, it like I said, it lasted about 3 hours. Please don't let that scare you if you want to come to Senate meetings. Usually they don't last that long. And of course, like I said earlier, you're more than welcome to leave a little early if it gets too late for you. But yeah, we definitely had quite the meeting. So hopefully going forward, things are a little more tame, a little less lengthy, but we'll see how that goes. So
sounds good. Well, next we're going to go into some events coming up on campus. And first, Hazel.
Yeah, so a big event coming up. We have, of course, there's something going on every night, but something I think that's important to note for students is the Involvement Fest. This will be next Tuesday and Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and it's held in Prexy's pasture. So if you're just walking to a different class or something and you want to stop by, that would be great. Basically, Involvement Fest is a place for student orgs to table. So almost every student org on campus will be out there and you can stop by. I know some people hand out flyers, you can ask them questions. There's even like free candy and things like that. I'm part of 2 student orgs, the president of 2 student orgs. So I know I'll be tabling the whole time there, and it's just a super great way to get involved with student orgs and figure out what's going on campus.
Yeah, I will be tabling as well. And just a quick update, a little typo. It is not Wednesday, September 31st. It is Wednesday, September 1st.
Yes.
So just next week, Tuesday and Wednesday in Prexy's pasture. We also have the website for the calendar for events happening here on campus. It's uyo.edu/uw/calendar. You can see a huge list of all the different events happening. We thought Involvement Fest was the most important for students to know. And so that's why we put this one on. If you're interested in seeing any more, you can visit that website. And yeah.
Can I jump in really quick on that?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, the best way to enhance your college experience is to get involved, whether that's through ASUW or just any regular student organization. We have tons and tons and tons of student organizations, all focused on different topics, everything from your field of study to maybe one of your hobbies. There are intramural sports, club sports, all kinds of ways to get involved. All great ways to meet new people, build new support groups and support systems and groups of friends, and just have a good time in general. So we would really encourage everyone to get out, find an organization that works on something, that focuses on something that you're passionate about. And yeah, so please, please, please get involved. We really, really encourage that. So,
yeah, and
that's all I had to add.
Yeah, thank you, Coulter. And also, if you are a student that runs a student org and you didn't know about this or you haven't signed up yet, feel free to reach out to me or people at ASUW, or you can also check out the student org office that's also down in the union. And it's super easy to sign up. You just fill out a form and they give you a table. So if your student org is not signed up for this, go sign up right now.
I do believe registration for signing up for Involvement Fest does end today at, I want to say noon. Just a heads up for that.
Good to know. Great. So we're going to kind of move on to the last section of our town hall, which is an open forum. We've been asking some students for questions on our social media. So next time we have our town hall, make sure to go ask your questions on Instagram and on our Google form. Our first question, which was submitted anonymously through our Google form, and I know both Hunter and Coulter, you kind of already touched on this, but what are some other ways that you are involved on campus besides ASUW?
Yeah, I mean, oh, you want to go, Hunter?
No, I defer to you.
Okay. Yeah, like Hazel said, we already kind of covered this. Obviously, ASUW is probably my biggest involvement, especially being in the executive branch. You know, we are working 25 or more hours a week, usually more. So that's quite a bit. Like I said, I'm also a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity, which has been a fantastic organization. Great way to build connections and do some networking. So between those two and all my classes, I usually get pretty busy. So outside of that, there's not too much that I do formally. Like I said, I do quite a bit in the College of Business with some of the committees that they use that are a little more student facing. Like I said, right now our big focus is providing support to student organizations, and obviously having been part of ASUW for quite some time now, I have quite a bit of background with that. So usually I can provide some solid input for them. At least I like to think. I hope it's pretty helpful. Trying to think of anything else, but if I can, I'll jump in. But for the most part, I think that's about it. That wraps it up for me.
Yeah, similar to culture, ASUW is definitely my most involved thing just because the amount of time like having this job takes. But I also am president of Best Buddies, which, like I mentioned earlier, advocates for people with mental or intellectual developmental delays or something like that. Then I also am involved in Molecular Biology Club. I also do quite a bit of scientific research, not like quite a bit, but I work in a neuroscience lab here on campus that studies frontotemporal dementia. And also we do a little bit with depression. So we look at the neuronal firings in the frontal lobe to determine differences basically between healthy mice and mice that we have given frontotemporal dementia through genetic modifications.
How do either of you have any time to sleep? Like, you do so much.
Hazel, you're not really one to talk. I know for a fact that you also have a laundry list of things that you're involved in.
You're not wrong.
Another question from Riley on Instagram was, what specific parameters does the UW community have to meet to remove their mask requirement?
So that's actually been also a little bit of a contentious issue. I've served on the Presidential Advisory Committee for COVID-19, and there is no parameters by which we are judging or basing the removal of masks on formally. The president wanted broad leeway to be able to do what he thought was best in terms of masks, and he requested that it not be tied to any specific set of parameters. I know that de facto, they are looking at a few things, specifically positivity rate for COVID-19 tests here on our campus. There's the 3% weekly random sampling test that's going on. So each week, 3% of campus will be randomly selected to be tested for COVID-19. And you have to report for that testing. And they are watching very closely the positivity rate. So what percentage of those samples come back positive? If it's greater than 1%, then they consider that sort of the danger zone. If it's greater than 3%, that's like the red zone. So less than 1% is ideal. 1 to 3 is like, ooh, and 3% or more is very bad. The most recent test was, they tested all of campus. We were basically all required to go down to Crane Hill and get tested in those really long lines. And the positivity rate there was 1.19%. So in the danger zone, based on that, not going to be removing the masks in the immediate future, but it could get more under control as the semester goes on, or it could get worse. No one can tell the future.
Yeah, as Hunter, I'll just throw in one thing here. There is no okay, I won't say that. Generally, this is pretty ambiguous and kind of difficult, but the real surefire way to remove masks is vaccinations. If our vaccination rates get to a certain level, then masks are pretty much certain to be removed. And it looks like those numbers are going up, which is really good to see. So, would encourage you to go get your vaccine. It's totally free. And yeah.
It's actually the opposite of free. You get paid.
You get paid. Yeah, you are getting paid to take it. So
pretty good deal, I think.
Better.
Shut up and take my money.
Great. Okay, so our next question is from Courtney, submitted through Instagram. The question is, what is ASUW doing to improve/enhance reporting mechanisms and resources?
A good question, and definitely one that we've been struggling with for a long time here on this campus, and we know that for sure. There's a lot of reporting mechanisms here on this campus for a variety of different things. So like the mechanism for reporting sexual assault or harassment is more difficult or is different from reporting something under discrimination under EOR, which is the equal opportunity reporting. And what is it? Equal opportunity report and
I can't remember either.
report and response, of course. That's what it is. My apologies. So I'll get down to the crux of the question. What are we doing to improve these services? Well, one, we plan to have in-depth meetings with the Vice President for Student Affairs, Kim Chestnut, and Dean O'Neill regarding this topic and seeing how we can further sort of work on making sure that not only are these easy to access and that students are aware of them, but also that when students do make a report, they are protected from retaliation and fully supported in this process, both with their mental health and provided alternative or like other resources to guide them through. Students really have a tendency of being left out to dry when they make a report. We fully recognize that, and it's something we need to do. And the first part of changing this would be having those honest conversations with those who have the power to change it. ASUW does not personally control these reporting mechanisms, but we can have, you know, really honest conversations with Kim and Ryan, who we know pretty well at this point since they work really closely with ASUW, and see what we can address. I do know that Vice President Chestnut is, at least they're in the process of changing some of those, as she said at Senate on Tuesday night. And we will definitely follow up on that. I actually already sent an email to her to ask her about some of these topics and request for our next meeting, which is Tuesday at 4:15 p.m. Another thing we can do is support students who do make a report. So if any student ever needs support in terms of, you know, guiding through the process or access to other resources like the University Counseling Center or the Wellspring Counseling Service, they can come to us and we'd be more than happy to guide them.
And our last question is coming from Anya, also on Instagram. She said, with full approval of the Pfizer vaccine by the FDA, will there be advocacy to mandate the vaccine?
That's a really complicated question. So campus is really split on this. I can say that, yeah, some people will push for a vaccine mandate. It's already happening. A lot of the faculty and staff in particular will want a vaccine mandate. Whether or not it will happen, I'm much more skeptical. It's a highly contentious issue in Wyoming, obviously. And I know that the legislature and the governor would probably not be in favor of it. So if I had to be a betting man, I would not think that a vaccine mandate would be happening in the near future, but maybe in like 2 years or something, it's possible. But yeah, for the immediate future, I see little possibility of a vaccine mandate. And ASUW has no official stance on this. We recognize that students are deeply divided. There's never been a vote on terms of what our, you know, stance should be. So if I'm ever asked about what I think about a vaccine mandate, I just say what I honestly think. Like, yeah, it'll be really contentious. A lot of students will think of it as a violation of their like personal medical autonomy, but also would be the single best thing we could do to keep campus safe from COVID-19. So both of those are true.
Yeah, you just like to put emphasis, you know, no formal resolution or anything has been passed on the ASUW end regarding this. However, we have lots and lots and lots and lots of research that we can follow. We have all the facts. We know what works. We know why it works. We know how it works. So when it comes down to it, yeah, you know, we can just follow that. So yeah, but everything Hunter said is completely right. So I think that wraps it up, right? I think that's
Yeah,
it.
is there anything else you guys would like to say or have any input in?
Welcome back. Welcome back to class.
Yeah, welcome
everyone.
back.
It's good to be back on campus.
I
look
hope that
forward to
everyone's
representing you and working with you. If you ever need anything, come down to the ASUW office, the basement of the union. Someone will always be there, and we're happy to take your questions, thoughts. Even just hearing from students is so lovely.
And if you ever just want to say hi or whatever, doesn't matter. We're very excited to have everyone back. I hope that everyone's first week is starting off well. I'd like to remind everybody that we have, in terms of academics, we are students first. Everyone knows that. There are lots of resources on campus, especially for some of you first year students and maybe some of you sophomores who didn't get a lot of exposure to these. The STEP Tutoring Center, it's like what is like the I can't remember. There's several tutoring options on campus. If you ever need help with the class, make sure to utilize those. Utilize your professor's office hours. Utilize your TA's office hours. These people, you know, they are more than happy to help. It's what they're paid to do. So make sure if you need help in a class to go get it. And let's have a successful, high achieving semester. Awesome.
Great words. So the next Cowboy Conversation Town Hall will be September 9th it's a Thursday, and it will be the same time, 9:30 to 10:30 a.m.
Yeah, and like I said before, if you do have questions for Hunter and Coulter, whether that's just about them and things that they like to do or their majors, or maybe it's something about ASUW's stance on issues going on, questions you have about getting involved, anything like that, Casey, our director of marketing, will be posting ways on our social media to ask those questions so that they can be answered in our next Cowboy Conversation.
Yes, there will be posts on the Instagram story where you can submit questions there. And then there's also a link in our bio on Instagram and Twitter that you can go and submit questions anonymously. So I believe that just wraps it up. We'd like to thank everyone for coming and hope you have a great semester and a good rest of your week.
Thank you. Big thank you to Casey and Hazel for doing this for us.
Absolutely. Shout out to them. They did awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Is it over?
Yeah.
We're not live streaming.